Even ja, koro wachaka donge.
Maybe you can pause a little bit.
Kare, ne nitie mana setup mana timo kama tin, odwa pana sema na tieko. Ne nitie mana setup moro ne adwa nwadhi live, wadhi live, koro wan live the other social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, gimane kendo, YouTube, Facebook, gimane cha. X bende kae bende koro wan live, aparo ni
I didn't know we do it on YouTube as well.
wan nyaka
That's
YouTube.
interesting.
Koro ma en very high level kind of conversation. To kik miwa luoro, ni koro wadhi live, koro kik iluor.
Okay.
Nimar kaka nawacho ni we are trying to target as many people as possible and also including future generations and even people can reference. People can come back and see, okay, Angma Luo Nation, what about this? Ng'ato nyalo dhi through kata at their own free time. Mdonge ni watch about these talks. But koro one live, mane gima medo paro, mane one live to mic ni free. Aneno Renish, aneno Kevo, Aliki, Diri, V, Charles Lagot, na kwa ni chemuri bi miwa, kati miwa pachi weche mege career talks. Jakoma neni, pombekali chanolwar, pombekali neni kai. Koro gima awacho ni, wadwa chako. George, kin gi wach mwachako go kata nini mondo wachaka chaka toke kanyo. Because aparo ni introductions ne wasetimo, especially an gi in gi other people manitie then. Koro we can just start. Maybe by just going through some of the questions and temo nuango what we can say. It's just a conversation, open conversation.
Maybe just even before we start the questions, I think maybe it's important to understand the topic we're having today. And that will be, how do I move from where I am to where I want to be? And you gave us three main important things that what we'll be going through, we'll be looking at the strategy bit, the execution bit, and even the mentorship bit. But now, when you're moving this journey, it's not more or less like a straight line. It's like you have a bridge where you have to build. And first of all, we have to understand the context. That last week we had something that you were talking about. We looked at people wanting to become different things. Maybe you want to become a doctor, you want to become an engineer, you want to become a pilot. But today, some people you find that maybe they're stuck with courses they don't like, they graduated but they can't find work, or maybe they're unemployed or even underemployed. Yeah. Now we have to start by understanding the problem, that maybe for someone you'd be like, right now, maybe you're unemployed, as I've said, you're doing small gigs here and there. Maybe you're helping in a family business, you're like a border, you're doing online tasks or online jobs, you're working each and every day, or you're looking at your friends who graduated but they're still jobless, or people who got jobs and they're earning very little. And there are also people who actually are employed and even are earning higher than you. If you look at the reports around, you find 67% of the people aged between 15 to 34 are either unemployed or underemployed or not even active in the formal economy. And a lot of people find a lot of pressure, especially even from parents, that sometimes you're staying at home, the parents are asking you, when are you going to get proper jobs? You have your relatives comparing you to others, who maybe they became teachers, they became even doctors, or even those pilots that we were talking about. Social media makes it worse. Everyone seems to be making it in life except you, who is consuming that information online. Uh, you have dreams as a young person. Maybe you want to be in tech. You want an agribusiness company. You want to do digital marketing. You want to build something in the construction industry or in sales, but you don't know exactly how to get there. You lack the connections, the practical skills that employers want today. Because when you look at what employers want, someone would be wanting like maybe 10 years of experience. And sometimes even just the confidence to start. And now this gap is real. You know where you want to be. You want to be financially stable. You want to be doing well. You want to be doing what excites you. You want to be helping your family on a daily basis. You want to be helping the community, or even give back to the community. Maybe you want to get involved, yeah, in creating more jobs. You're stuck between limited opportunities, the skill mismatch. And now after now we understand where we are, where you are as a young person, and where you want to go. So now we are here stuck with now. How do we navigate this bridge? You know, how do we move from this point A, point B? I think today is not even more. We're not. I think it's not even going to focus. We're not going to focus more on where we are, but now we're going to focus on this bridge in between from point A to point B. How do we navigate this? And I just wanted to bring that on board, Vincent, at least maybe for our audience to understand that. I think maybe I'm just going to give it back to you, maybe to now moderate the conversation. Proceed. And I'm going to invite even the listeners down here. We see Hilary, Radish, and the rest to join the conversation they can tag along as we progress with the conversation. Vincent, the ball is back to you.
Erokamano maduong' jatabudho kata achiel kuom ng'ano ma watayo kabudho kendo ma kawuono wanyalo bedo jatabudho kendo wanyalo bedo panelists. Koro nyiso ni wanyalo bedo more of a podcast, which is not what we intend. Koro ne wakwayo ni wakauru mic mondo wagouru mbaka. Mano e kwayo na maduong' kapod warito other people to join the conversation. But kata kamano, an abro dhi ahead gi just giving us, upon George Setima, very wonderful work. Well done job in giving us background of today's conversation, which is quite exactly what we want to talk about, and he's laid the foundation, considering what we discussed the last 2 weeks, and that this is an ongoing conversation. Koro, I will just take us through some of the questions so that we also have this in mind. Some of the points, key points, like he did mention about strategy, about execution, and mentorship or networking. So I just have a few points. I will just, that is the whole point. That are the whole things, some of the segments you're going to have. But the point, the overall question is how do you move from where you are to where you want to be? That is the question. How do you move from where you are to where you want to be? And some of the things that we want to tackle is, especially for those people who feel stuck and uncertain, uh, what exactly do they do? That is something we're going to discuss here. Whether strategy or having big plans, is it a mistake that prevents us from moving forward, or is it a good thing? That is something we're going to discuss on strategy. Whether we have a practical working plan that defines progress, and what are some of these, and how important are these in terms of consistency and making sure that we are on the right trajectory. And finally, whether we can find and leverage on our networks and some mentorship kind of programs or any kind of mentorship. It doesn't necessarily means somebody sitting you down. It also means just getting the training, uh, getting the admiration, and talking to people, and probably taking action from this. And then what differentiates these people in terms of the plan and the goal? So what is the gap? Upon George no mention Manama. So at the end of this, we will see the gap and we'll see how to fill the gap. Koro kapok achako gi first question, abro mi Ramoth, because Ramoth, I think despite uh, us having talked about this, I think a week before, 2 weeks before, I think Niyonge last week, Koro, I think you haven't introduced yourself. So if you can introduce yourself, Ragot Charles, and then we can just start. But we really appreciate you joining us at this time. Ragot Charles, kiwoyo kwa winji, just introduction, who you think, any information you want us to know about you. You can keep what you think is private to you, but anything you want us to know so that we know you.
Well, thank you, Win. Unja maber,
Wawinji maber kabisa, Ragot.
unja maber. Koso microphone na nigi echo.
In 100% clear.
Thank you. With my microphone. Thank you, Win, and thank you, everyone. Thank you, Low Nation members, for having us of mentorship and career talk. It's a very key and good educative element we need for everyone in the society. To start with, just remind me what you need to know. What you need to think about. I'm sorry, I was doing some other things there, but I was listening.
Ongeshida, in general, we just want to know so that when you, for example, we are targeting even like we do encourage even parents who have kids around. We do encourage parents also listen to this, and we encourage everybody. And this talk is there for a long time. I mean, these talks are going to be there, like it's recorded on our YouTube channels, Facebook, and even here on X, and even this one. So we just want to know when somebody is listening to Ragot Charles, uh, who is this in terms of, maybe if you don't mind, why are you passionate about this, and what are some of the experience that makes you who you are, maybe you a bit of your background, just your background, but this is actually what you only want to us to know, so you don't have to tell us number of kids and whether or not you're married. So whatever information you want us to know and you think is relevant for this talk, so that we actually know who is this record in, like, in relationship to this particular mentorship and career talks, probably why you are here.
Great. Thank you. That's like tell me when you're Ramatin, just to connect with the questions we paint it to get to know one better. We did a police station on Christmas in Nyali last year. American statement, I'm not all directly, but she was just recent. Are you married or not? And I was like, how does marriage comes in? That shows a level of responsibility. You know, someone who wakes up and moves and doesn't even know when to return back or when to do something right or wrong. So to start with, I'm a good child, married to 3 kids, one daughter and 2 sons. And I thank God for this blessing when I'm a caretaker. I'm a caretaker. So the God is a medical laboratory technologist. Currently, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm doing what I want to do, what I'm passionate about. I'm doing entomological work. And basically, medical entomology. I'm a medical entomologist, technologist, but I'm not a specialist. So I'm an entomologist, technologist, basically field work and trying to do some laboratory work depending on what you want to run. Interest is mosquitoes because most of my work surrounds vector-borne diseases from malaria to arboviruses. And
Hey,
so pertaining to the topic today, the mentorship career talk, and what our young ones, the first thing that normally clicks into our mind. How many of us practice what we studied in college? In campus? That's the big question. It revolves around career choice. Now that we have the larger group, which is maybe the groups open, whichever one maybe man process the system depending on the grade and what they want. So actually, what they get interest, what they get room. So what they get interest, what you're currently on. So what is current? My current mind will guide us that in choosing the career pathway. Then my current with the people they more on name interest marinate for the school. We've seen people there's a friend of mine wanting more engineering from Egerton because if more graduate so class certificates so children my mama give back. And now I have done what you sent me to do. It's never disappointed you. I usually the school fees you paid. Now I'm going to test my own path. Then nothing. Music. He's now a DJ and practicing. He loves it. So we have that. Another interest. The cause still surrounding my life. Once I applied for nursing course at Nyabondo, Symboso Nyabondo Medical Training College, those who know where Nyabondo is, any Nyakach Malabaja. But they had the capacity by then to teach or to admit 15 students for nursing. Way back. So we did an NP interview, major layer application, life application, application for coaching or anything, pertaining health, just fresh from high school. Luckily enough, in survive and we were shortlisted for the practical was five and we were not sure what six and we were not sure what to expect. Nana Bedogo, human serious child, the word, and I was allowed pain. And that made this person who's conducting the leading interview. He called me aside and showed me who we are. Sorry. So you can you can maybe make an application for that theory. That's the thing. But for this one, no. Because of what? One, combination of going your mother and attitude. I cried, but later in life, realized that was like a blessing to me. That's even nothing that okay, come and hear it. I just believe that the Kasim Gimachemusa. Currently, in life is challenge when you work, but again, accepting and being positive is what makes us. Lastly, a grade is not a grade. Grade is what you make it to be. We have C planes, C pluses, and D pluses becoming employers. And people with A's, the genius. That tells us the grade is not a grade. Grade is what you make, it's how you use it. So we should not be pushing our kids or any other person on our kids to get us A's, B pluses, which we should be reckless, we could be responsible to take care of them, what guide to get through to get a good result. But for the results, because the bureau, he qualifies the kids. The kids, we never know the interest and what they're gonna come out with. Jiwo ngacho, wajiwo rea jiwa, nikicha. How well you be out of our way to accept the result? When I know the rate at which kids take action on the lives, in themselves, nikech kod dala to kaje you I expected you to get this, what are you gonna do? Mtoto wa so anafanya nothing, anafanya medicine, wewe unaenda fanya nini? We should not make our kids' life miserable, but we should make the life a life that one might yearn to have, even as ourselves. No one, it's it, man, no, mwabedie. Communication, the situation dictates. We should accept. Yumagunka is accepting. Thank you very much, woman. I'll be listening. Thank you.
Eh, erokamano. In fact, gimitimo maduong' sana Ragot en ni imiwa a recap of what we talked about in the last two talks mwasebedogo, because those are exactly what we tried to uh, kind of mention. So it's very good you give us a very good recap, and it comes especially shows me even the other parts of the same talk were necessary, because even you getting introduction to you mention exactly what we really focused on, and we really appreciate it. And I think now our listeners and even those people who are watching online knows exactly who Ragot Charles is and why Ragot is passionate. You were about your personal experiences, uh, and this really quite intriguing, because that is one of the reasons why we are here. And from Namano, some smoke mare to bank to Koro Tero Peppers to people getting to workplaces. I'm looking at required skills, even the background, the very sometimes basic or unspoken rules of some of these workplaces. That is the need that I think cites the need for these mentorship things. It's really it's very good background record Charles kende tima ber kabisa erokamano maduong' kabisa. Ni maro wasetimo background pende wasechako, koro let's just go direct to some of the things we want to talk about. But Paramero, welcome all of you. Koro the first part, like we did mention, the very first thing model look and penj magolo wakat to tell wakacha open what will take us from where we are to where we want to be. Because the first thing that maybe the first question is Matt both about Charles, George, and anybody else, please come Mike tem doko pension. When someone feels stuck or uncertain about their career path, what framework should they use? Oh, anyalo nuol. Jojo kiwinja? Okay. Be awuoyo mos mondo question odonj. Koro samoro inyalo paro na ng'ada to kara bet aling' aling'. Awacho ni when someone feels stuck or uncertain about their career path, what are some of the framework that they should use to gain clear reality when you feel stuck or uncertain about the career path, especially jogo ma maybe any teach ok en sure, or ng'ato ni school otieko form 4 mochiegni tieko form 4 mosetimo any university ok en sure. What are the frameworks that they can use to gain clarity or real clarity in this case? What can you do? What are your advice? Georgia, can you penjo no? You feel stuck or uncertain about career path. What are the framework that one can use to gain reality? Upload biro iri mondo time yeto kupenya then toke kanyo to got miyo perspective kata perspective mare kaen, especially en ng'ama ber ni otimo something to otimo something else. I'm for sure ni at some point he thought about this deeply, but we watch the George.
Okay. Erokamano, Vincent. I think me, Chomoko, maybe just doing simple reflection questions. Quite important. And you only want to I think I'm also at a point whereby uh, I've been doing what I've been doing for 4 years now since I graduated. Koro, I've not been getting a lot of joy from what I've been doing. And now, one of the things you ask yourself is, do you enjoy uh, what you're doing even without pay? You know? Number two, sometimes is, and you'd find that some people, you'd find that maybe what you're just doing, like you don't derive any joy from it. But if you're to remove the aspect of payment, then you really, really don't derive any joy from what you're doing. Then also the second one will be like now, what problems do you see in the community that you can solve? Because sometimes we get into the professions we're doing because maybe you had a need to solve a certain problem that was existing before, and sometimes you don't find yourself with the opportunity to be able to address that, and maybe you don't find yourself maybe getting to fulfill that purpose in the first place, you see? And then maybe now just getting to understand your strengths and weaknesses as well. And by that, maybe just, I think even just beyond the strengths and weaknesses, maybe now you'd also come down to now what are your skills, what are your interests, what are your values, and even just your current resources, do they allow you even to do something else if you don't feel like maybe if you're stuck in this, will they allow you to do something else, So I think it's just a couple of self-reflection questions that you're supposed to ask and answer yourself. Then I think after that, maybe it's now like now deciding now what would be the second option. For instance, maybe for me, I'd be like, now maybe in 2 years, or in 3 years, I'd want to be doing something else. So if in 3 years I'd want to maybe branch into finance, I'd ask myself now, what should I start doing right now? Or maybe you'd be like, I think in 2 years I'd want to be earning this and this and this. And now how do I navigate it from here? What are the steps that I'm going to put in place so that I can get to that destination? I think that will be my answer.
Erokamano. Eh, Erokamano maduong'. Aparo ni wawinji maber. Self-reflection came out very clearly, and this one is the time to now chako understand even yourself. Aparo ni mana winjo maber. Koro self-reflection, you need to know, need to strengthen, can you weakness, can you passion, can you so this is the time to now think about yourself. Rakot Charles, iniwacho nade?
I think, I mean, thank you. Yes, we in the during my show about self-reflection and literacy, given element of ability. I can say that you know, ability na challenge. And one, on the cow, you know, the same money and because the work, so people may be total disappointment. When I love it to you, for example, when you come at the nine, not all for the same rail engineering, petroleum, rail engineering,
Yeah, there's petroleum, I think. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, petroleum engineering, same. It's vehicle. Where do you want to go with it? Trying to set our country in mind. And you know what the country can do and what the country cannot do. Which we can get to our country, which can get to our country. When you go into selecting way of making decisions on what we're going to study at the university or colleges, whichever vocational training institutions. What the ability, the ability. What can we do locally for the international? Because we have to jump from a stone to the other. Or come for you. The one mostly what we can do locally and our ability. Not doing kind of the combined is one ability. If we're working on the same, for example, let's say, so in years, you know, use someone you good in biological science. Someone you good as maybe in languages or something other thing in a anthropology. Some more thing you remember about you can do better in the plumbing work, the people doing electrical function, mechanical engineering, innovators. Because none of them making like the Morokai. You not to these two guys. They want to show that example. Not to the high-end garage. Not the Wakari. When you vijana work a technical institution, not many can tell me from college of the Navy, Nairobi, so from the garage. So, when you're talking about the thing, you don't have the difference between your message, your colleague garage, and your message high-end garage. Can be diagnostics to human in replacement, where we should learn that. Region or another file malfunction is to advise you to replace that particular part may not function well. Your colleague, your human culture, they're trying to be innovative. Why is this thing not working? Can we modify it? Maneuverability. Before we fail, what are we capable of doing? And what can we come out with it from it? Where can we apply it locally or internationally? Locally. No, I don't want to despise people's career choice, whatever people have done. But only in the ability to get our age. You get to understand it. Network is a network. Yes. A network is a network. And when that, I went to the kids there with me. I'll be
Aparon kata gimi wacho mogik no wabro wuoye mang'eny mbele kanyo. Our network is our net worth. Apparently, the last part of this talk, kakuro webe mentorship networking, second last, I think, after strategy. Never split it into three or even four, five, but at least three main ones. Koro, part mitieko gono is part of something what they discuss. Koro, keep that point for now. Kado change follow-up questions. Teneno ka jaduong Ongalo himself osedonjo kae. Koro abro miyi dakika matino jaduong' Ongalo mondo ikaw pi, ikaw kom, ibed idonjo tikaw kom. Koro in kaka pi mani idasani, pi mar dasani gi plastik mar lita, nus lita ni kanyo. Koro kaka pi modh, nimar toke kanyo abro kwayi mondo itim introduction, then abro miyi penjo achiel. But giseneno penjo mana follow up question ni ji ariyo mane ose make their very strong and good submission. Yes, dhi mbele. Mawago mana mbaka onge wach.
Yes, you know, when we are out into the field, what you teach. If you like it within the family, within the organization, in the government or any other institution, it's probably easy to choose. Someone else can do it with a lesser pay. Someone else can do it
Koro
on a
tim
volunteer
kamae, tim kamae, tim kamae Ramoth. Aneno ka isechopo ahead kata. Man is the second part of this. Keep that please. It's a very good point, but I really want you to keep it. Why? Because it's part of questions on strategy. Abro penji, bro winjo kako bro give me a keep that point. Not because of that, but because it's so good. Kendo nyiso ni even how the question are structured, ber kabisa reflects so much. Koro, will you please just keep it? Machado penji be penji moro kai, but manobro biro second segment of the question, second round. Koro wawa tiegi first round, then first second round to make that very strong submission killing all the time because it's really a good point. Wapro way about strategy and some of the mistake that people make. Koro, I want us to talk about it when we asking that question. In the next round of the questions. But kora do me mana follow up questions kai ragot. Keep that one for the next round. In a way about ability, time, not when someone feels stuck or uncertain about their career path, the framework that they can use to gain the clarity. In what you know, ability. George, you got so many things, but I'm summarizing it to ability. So many good examples. George was more or less about self-reflection. It's time to reflect on your passions, on who you really are. Korado penj each of you one question each. For George, abro penj achiel ni now you go about self-reflection. How then do you distinguish between passion and practical opportunity? Opportunity ni kai. Idwaro, for example, something ni medical physicist. I mean physics and so I'm more biased. Idwaro medical physicist. In passionate about where or in passionate about something else, but there is an opportunity here. There is Idwaro more of these people is in passionate about something that's slightly different. Uh, do you take the opportunity or do you follow your passion? Mano penjo ma George. Maybe 1 minute to think about it. Ragod, penjo ni wo about ability. To gimamiya unbiased again ka penjo ni more specifically iwo about ability and then iwacho ni gimitimo opogore gima isomo samoro kata gimoro be nitimo ga to example michiwo isenyiso so many experiences in your life and even lives of other people. Koro one thing I'm interested to know any what signals tell someone they are on the wrong path early enough to pivot? At what time, at what stage do you think, okay, this signal is so obvious, leave it? And look at answer questions tells me there are few things. That's why I told you also to keep that question. And I'm also telling you again, asking a question that is very related to that. So you might want to bring that element of the question, of the answer, but if you want to keep it for the next question, that's still fine. But what are signals? Some of the signals that will tell somebody that they are on the wrong path and it's time to maybe do something else. Mano penjo mar Ragot Charles, but wachagi George. George, what distinguish between passion and practical opportunity? Like me, what about self-reflection?
I think Vincent, I would go for practical opportunity, especially as a young person. You know, actually, I take a school in the world. I'm just fresh in the corporate world. I'll go for the current opportunities part because now, with the setup of our country and how it's structured, as a young person, I take a school. The first step for survival, I cannot just get a place where I can now get to stabilize myself because in our setup, mostly this is your school, especially if you're a male child, you're expected to find your own place, find your own routine, and at least be independent because now you find parents starting to cut you off their budget, you know. So you're here in a place where now you have to start surviving, first of all, you know. So, I think sometimes now you go with the current opportunity. Um, Now, at least with this opportunity, now with time, it builds the confidence, it gives you the money, and even after the money now, it starts you giving you the options in life, you know. That now after you have created something for yourself, because sometimes you can even accumulate money that can sustain you for even 6 months without working. Now you know you can start to afford even options, you know. Then now I think after you get the money, you can now use the money to now gradually move towards what you're truly passionate about. Let's say for instance, I'm passionate about music. So that I can tell myself maybe I start learning instruments or guitar, you know. I can start going for classes maybe in the you know, if I enjoy dancing, I can take some dancing lessons. If I do photography, I can get myself the set, you know, that I need. You know? Yeah. So I think for me, I would say go with the current opportunities, but build the confidence, build the money, then you take options which come. Then now, the beauty of that is later on, you also get more clarity as you progress. You know, you be like, I think now I have the clarity that this is what I really get, and I'm going to break it into things. Maybe how the resources, maybe when you time you've understood how the world in the country, how the career was, you don't start operating. You don't start operating from point of view and from point of view and I found that this is what I did. This is how I get this out. Even if you're branching into something new, at least you know how to go about it. Yeah.
Hey, ya ng'ato ne sina kai bata winji. Erokamano maduong'. Which I really like how you put these things samoro yo ma you can easily understand and follow. Kendo I like that in you go for the practical opportunity and then maybe one teacher boy in stage makori feel need more comfortable timo or following your heart so then you can look back but apart man be because wani mar koro penjo ma school need work at where gikanyo ni mar penjo ma pende agodo temo penjo to koro what is this time to now pivot back I mean pivot or go back to what you think especially kiriago ni realize ni wrong path uh, probably early enough so that it's not too late. Whether there's early enough, I don't know. Whether there's not, Manora got pro but I really like even how you answered the question is so direct. Magata penjo, okanyal pedogo. Korora got chance me wani signals ni kani. Angwa rang such mawani don't career path do. What obviously makwane no to mano red flag if in pattern or career no. I mean the record.
Yes. Is interest. When one starts losing interest in what he's doing or what he's pursuing, that shows me uh, you're already lost. A good example, after the college medicine, after 2 or 3 lessons, when you know there's something, I was not right when he was choosing. I didn't know okay, circumstances. That's the interest. So, hata kwa niyo, ema wacha na imanya basi mama baya. Mau kwa semo alutwa to what we can do, what we can do. Ema the interest. Everything somebody the interest. Ikishigima shosi kwa ero kabisa cha. Ema bilo na wakati wana go follow it to the end. Now, interest in the yellow share. Professionalism with the leadership. Like, I don't think there's a very question on. Imagine Musani has shaped my life or my ability. So, professionalism way to impact. Primarily, you guys are looking at medical lab, where is supposed to be working? But beyond that, I think you may interest to kill. I think I'm professionally, so I have interest and experience. I'm studying insects. I can take mosquitoes to the side. The same way, uh, yeah, mechanic, or industrial mechanic. So no could be wiring. When technology in wiring machine, wiring is majorly or basically electrical functioning, the electrical function of the machine. More ability and limiting ability to know you when has lost interest in what he or she is doing, then that to me is a red flag. Thank you.
Erokamano. Yeah, how you answer this question is actually really interesting, considering Kaka George Nowacheni, one of the things that he thought he could follow was going to be passion. Oh no, practical opportunity, an opportunity that is here to take against passion. Tiwachen, one of the signals to stop and reflect. George not to reflect, but watching one of the to look back en kopo ni neno ka interest onge, nyiso ni passion cha onge, to this is interest because sometimes this is passion who took a practical opportunity. Okay, and chief example a bit interesting again kiwacho ni personally, even through by taking these personal opportunities or just taking opportunities, you might develop interest in the long run. But I am assuming you mean you took something out of passion and then you realize, or out of interest, then you realize the interest is dying. Then it means it's not serving you or it's not serving the purpose anymore, and that is well understood. Erokamano maduong', Ramoth. Koro wadwa loro this part of the first question to nagombo winje nungalo ka in gi wach moro miwa introduction moro nungalo ni to en ng'a. To be kodwa mention kodwa mana comment matin because enta bro mana miyo opportunity ka onyalo mostly nado mana no introduce himself and then maybe onyalo donjo second segment, but ungalo generally ne owuoyo ni kopo ni someone is uncertain and feels stuck about their career path, what exactly or what are some of the frameworks mang'ani nyalo timo to gain clarity. Minena ariyo modong' ne gin follow up question, but what is the main question for this first part of this talk. Kora kiani in gi wach moro minyalo wacho on that, it's okay. If not, then we can just go to the next part. But then I really wanted you to also tell us who is Ongalo in terms of what you think we might help us and why you interested in some of this based on personal experience, or even career or profession or anything that makes you interested. Because I know you've been interested in most of this, including some drives, you showed a lot of interest, and I really wanted us to know you more about this. And then, if you can try answering that question, is okay. But if not, then we can move to the next part of the talk. Ongala kini winja, ongalo kiwuoyo kwa winji mute. George, iwinja?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah. Aneno ukiwa on mute. Thank you. Koro wawinji. Koro winji maber kabisa.
Thank you so much. I've been Niga Joshua Ngalo. Lonye weche mag tuo mar kahera miluongo ni tuberculosis, and so far in the masters in biology, and still looking forward to advancing my career with the same regard. My area of specialty and immunology. I work on cell signaling pathways and trying to understand how our bodies fight the pathogen and how this can be used to leverage the current diagnostic tools and also the immunological intervening in terms of vaccine development. Thank you so much for your question. I feel like this is good, and wish the young people were here so that we could learn from each other. It looks like we are a few people. Hopefully, they will join through or follow through recorded audios. You asked what challenges can emerge in career choice, and can you just repeat that question again so I can make sure I get you clearly?
Erokamano onge shida Ongalo. Thank you for the introduction. So the question is generally, what most of us have answered is generally when you feel stuck or when someone feels stuck or uncertain about their career path, what are some of the frameworks or what frameworks should they use to gain clear clarity or real clarity?
Thank you so much. Again, with career choices, I think this should always start way earlier in high school. I think one thing which happens, what people don't know, is either we stick to one career. Uh, Everybody wants to be a doctor, engineer, and those well-learned lawyer, pilot. But sometimes the situations now and the schools that we are resources we are dealing with makes us not be able to achieve those careers in life, the dream careers in life. One thing I would really agitate or advise young people to focus on is looking for alternative careers way earlier in life. That if I don't get medicine, try to do research around medicine and what else can you learn on. You may not be a medical doctor, but you can be a clinical officer, still almost doing the same job. And maybe in the long run, you may still find your way of advancing and getting to where you want to be. Having alternatives is the best way of, arming yourself or preparing yourself for eventualities, or just in case whatever you wanted to do is not working out. Again, as I said earlier in time, I believe that everybody is gifted differently. There are those people who are gifted in humanities, there are those people who are gifted in sciences. So I believe that if you pick something in line of where you are gifted, the work becomes easier. And even if there are challenges in the course of your work, you always find some motivation from just the virtue of the fact that you like what you're doing, or you rhyme with what you're doing. So I would really encourage people to pick what works easier for them. Like if you're good in sciences, pick some career line which goes with sciences. Then another thing would be there are emerging careers which are emerging new careers with the advance of technology, the artificial intelligence, and things like that. I believe we should be very versatile. We should be very malleable. We should be very flexible to advance to see how best we can utilize the currently available resources to make us stick out, to make us stand out when get compared with other guys. So I think this also trickles back to the passion. So passion is the key uh, to start with, and after passion, you find that the passion is the driving force. Again, the passion is the bigger goal. What do you want to achieve with this career? So you really have to attach your passion to the bigger goal, to the little steps that you have to do to get to the bigger goal. That one can motivate you when times are hard. Because again, you may be super passionate in something, but you realize that the environment you're working in, now this is external factor. This is not even intrinsic factor. The environment you're working in is very toxic and you can't continue working there. Your next level of plan would be to look for another organization which can support your dreams. That is one thing. Then, just to answer your question, I'm saying so many words here, but just bear with me. So, seeking another career, another place without completely abandoning your career should be an option, especially when dealing with external factors which career boring or you give up what you were passionate about. The next thing is intrinsic factors. You get bored. Like I wanted to do this, but I don't think this is really what I wanted. So we will be changing options. I think the first thing you really need to see is areas of advancement. How can you make this career, whatever you're doing, how can you make it uh, more pleasing, more tasty to your approval? So if you have other ways, maybe digital aspect would come into play at this level. I think exploring other ways of making your career tasty. And again, for me, my motivation is being exceptional in what I'm doing. So whenever you're exceptional, that's my motivation. That's what motivates me. If I can do this better than anybody else, I believe all doors will open and doors will open and come for me. So having that motivation makes me close my eyes to any little challenges that pass around. And just to answer your question again, I'm going about, I'm thinking about the bush, but yeah, let me be strategic now. So I feel like the way of addressing it, we have to unearth the cause of somebody not liking what he's doing. So we have intrinsic factors and external factors which can be coming into play in this. So addressing extrinsic factors, I would say look for other opportunities and look for other better ways of advancing your career so that you are the one on top. Then intrinsic, let's say you were getting bored again. I believe that partly looking for other alternatives is one which can support across both intrinsic factors and extrinsic factors. But getting back to your motivation of where you want to be and the plans you have in life could be a bigger player in this. And again, seeking other alternative careers which may be closely related to what you already have, because again, reinventing the wheel, especially when you get older, may not be an option. If you're almost late 30s and early 40s, you may realize that changing an entire career will be like starting all over again. But again, if that's where your passion is, I think it's never too late to make those decisions. But finally, passion is the driving force behind every success. And let it rest there. Thank you.
Erokamano Ongalo Bironi was timely. Nyachimedo layer to this keyword about I think George mentioned about self-reflection and a bit of passion. Ramos talked about no Ragot. Aneno Ramos Benano Kai Kuro Confisa. Ragot talked about ability and an element of passion. Tin Kuri Bedo passionate about the passion. And then you were even about external abilities or factors, external factors, how they come into play. And you correctly, or I agree with you, you need to also explore other opportunities as part of uh, strategies to gain more clarity, especially when you are uncertain and unsure or stuck about what you want to do. Ero, come on. Got a part with that. I don't want to ask you a follow-up question because now Dwamananu Winje, your thoughts on this because this is something that you probably and definitely have something to mention because I know you uh, in other platforms and forums, Kai, you champion for these things, and it's good you mentioned. Can you introduce yourself in a way somebody will see because these recordings are here for as long as and this is going as long as we even to future and even this generation. So that's a called intergenerational talks. To that introduction is really going to help people to know ni ungalen na to ngamo goni okenena anybody else and jama are passionate about this in korero kamano madung sana ungalo koro as we move to the next part mato na dwan got mondo chak because no chako nyaka doge tan mana chunga koro brother got and then George Kintari Tibro Bin and then to Kanyuto Galo. What I'm Nadoko Penyonu, what are some of the biggest strategic mistake people make when trying to move forward in their careers? Apparently, all of us have mentioned this in other ways, but I want her to be more direct now and very explicit. What are some of the biggest strategic mistakes that people make when trying to move forward in their careers? Koro kwanyalo chako gi Ragot, and then George, and then Ungalo. Ragot, ni chako way about this. Koro just pick it from where you left. Ni mara ngeni se chako way about these mistakes. Ragot.
Yes, yes,
Wawinji maber kendo wuok gi nyithiwa jok mani early careers professionals to mankind, what are some of these mistakes that people make? Even the parents. You work with so many of us.
volunteering. There was some regions very senior, and no one is very innovative. Monopolize can also do some questions. Number one, the greatest mistake when we are in positions, even we are at work, when we're doing something, one, monopoly. Number two, what we call daily routine. It's only much helping. It's only much helping. It's only much helping. You get used to it. With time, you can be rendered used. So we should embrace rotational duty. So we're not gonna for this month, next month, try to do some of the things the new way. And I'm going to feel like a company has a rotational duty. And that's like saying, your kaka, we treat them, we can help them do additional work. And there's a lot of changes but it is nothing here is providing nothing especially special music. Every profession maybe how they can do it professionally on your that to break bottom. Number three, if you're doing something in a position doing something, the living what we are supposed to be doing to other people not knowing maybe it is a time government on them there, vision on them there. Give us a semi good country. You know, come as well, then skill management doing something. There are people who can do the same thing with lower skills. End up as useless when we try not to do the best and from last day. As much as we are saying still have my own opinion, as much as we are serving in one area, we should also look back to how do we grow professionally, educationally, because that's what keeps us moving. That's how we in a sector. For example, monitoring requirements, different ways, different ways. If someone was done electronics or something to programming of the machine, and then they were saying, you give us your money, I was going to be like, nobody used to it. We come with the knowledge of AI. How can you switch the changing world needs? Let's also render that from part of this. We can say me and my soon, those ideas, so we know it depends on what being at my own on retire to one guy to feed the family, many other things on the other side. Thank you.
Erokamano, erokamano. Nang'eyo ni ibro wacho gik ma heavy heavy. Because no already ni sechako mention these things. Erokamano maduong' from iwacho monopoly to loso habits mean okidwa loso. Iwacho ni nitiyo kata gi Excel sheet. Okidwa kata explore the opportunities to embracing these opportunities and even exploring some of these things. You more explore timo mistakes, including reading and just acquiring new skills and knowledge and information in field ni or in field mora mora. Yeah, you watch so many things, but yeah, those owinjire maber kabisa. Ragot, erokamano for that very strong, those very strong points. George, miwapa chinto, ini paro ni mistakes magi ma ji timo, especially strategic mistakes. Maybe that should be also come out as a keyword. Strategic mistake that people make when trying to move forward. in their careers. They are trying to move forward in their careers. What are some of the mistakes magitimo? Awinji maber, George.
I hope I'm not going to mention what my speaker, the former speaker, was mentioning because I thought that, yeah, I think it's in the aspect more of my, you know, the set of what you go to for the perfect the right time before taking an action. You know, maybe you want to learn a new skill, just like I've been doing that, I will do it, you know, and you end up maybe the best maybe as such without taking up that skill. Yeah. And before that, maybe you want to scale, and now that is going to be something that inhibits you, you know. Yeah, that is something that happens a lot. I think one of manager law, you know, you know, even look at that maybe mistake until I'm not achieve. I think we take that some of reliance on academic qualification. Yeah, maybe you know degree in an mission. In the current career world, you find that degrees are not the only, are not the needs to have the design that is here in terms of the you know. I think class today want practical skills, that's, you know, more than just papers. Yeah. Let's say today I study something in maybe social media, things like that. We have someone who has maybe a degree in that, and we have someone who has proof like he's been there on Facebook, on Twitter, he has the following, he does the work on a daily basis. As an employer, I go for this person who has, you know, the practical skills. Yeah. Yeah. So there's usually that problem of reliance on academic qualifications. And that's why we have the question whereby you find that people usually say that we have this people perform in school, and over time we don't see them giving it that equal measure of performance in the corporate world. You know, I think that's where people get it from sometimes. Um, and I think there's also the aspect of not like building, building real experience. You know, maybe these things like internships, maybe volunteering, especially when you think about your career, they help a lot sometimes. You know, people just want the job directly. You know, I think people should just start where like anything that gives you a start, you should just pick it. If maybe you're done in school and you get an internship, you can pick it over just staying, you know, over just staying like that without doing anything. You forget a volunteering opportunity in a field you want to be. I think you'd rather go with that. Learn a thing or two in that field, you know, and it will help a lot. Yeah. I think also as people are growing in their career, I think it's also important to usually have a backup plan every time you're in a field. Because now we're looking at an interesting world where we see AI slowly replacing people, you know. Yeah. So I think people should always have a plan B. Yeah. Not really just having one career path in mind. Because we used to see secretarial jobs back in the day. Nowadays, those are things that are not needed as much as Kitambo, you know. Nowadays, you don't need someone to 10 minutes in a meeting. There are AI tools that can do that. We're looking at a world where AI is slowly replacing a lot of tasks, you know. You don't need people to keep files and documents anymore. You can have your own files in a cloud system, you know, and you can always retrieve it even from way back in the day, from even 10 years ago. You know, so some jobs are going away, yeah. So I think people should have plan B or even C. And actually even just be planning financially to just be investing in yourself. You know. I think
George ni wuoyi maber to koro kendo ilal. George olal na an. Ongali winjo George? Ok wawinji. George kiwuoyo ok wawinji koro Ongalo kiyiene to wapi apia no achapa nu wawito George. Maybe ano tiek kitoki. In gi pachi Ongalo, iparo ni what are some of the strategic mistakes that people make? Oh, okay. Kinyalo conclude. Okay, yes, yes, yes. Ni lal no for about a minute. Yeah, but it's a way maber if we got from over-reliance to not building real experience. On over-reliance ni on academic papers and some form of academics, and then people not building real life or real experience or practical experiences, and not having backup plans. And upon the last point Manite mentioned was about maybe not investing in oneself. Upon Kanye Manewa Witie. But point yeah, yeah, erokamano. Points mapek kabisa, erokamano maduong'. Koro kanyalo winjo kuom Ongalo nyalo bedo maber kabisa. Ongalo miwa pachi ni some of mistakes ma nyithiwa make, jomadongo make in their academic journey, in their professional journey or their careers or in whatever field they are, because we are trying to talk to all generations, guy. We are learning, Jomatindo, Jomadongo, we are learning here. What are some of these strategic mistakes that people make when thinking they're moving forward or when trying to move forward?
Yeah, so I would like to say that I believe that as human beings, we get contented. We like comfort. And again, that really be a factor which leads us to be contented too quickly. First, you know, and again, in the Christian upbringing, don't look for so much, just be okay with what you have. So I feel like that's one of the major contributors to us being contented and relax. You reach where you are, then you're doing routines, then you just relax. There's no need for improvement. Do it next day and do it next week. And try to look into those areas maybe next year. Maybe I need coding to start this. Maybe it's not my thing. So I think we are living in self-sabotage where when we start thinking like Mafeka, being content with that. And so contentment strategy, I feel like is one of the undoing, especially if let's say if we are in careers which can be easily replaced, then if we're contented, then we are setting ourselves up for failure. Because when anything happens, then we get replaced. So adding to that, I would also say lack of diversification of risks. In business, you need to diversify risks. But again, even before talking about the career, I want to look at this life very holistically. What do we want as individuals, as a person, as a human being? Why do we choose career? It really makes sense. If you become a doctor, a pastor, or a teacher. So I think it all bottles back to, it trickles back to why do we even go to work in the first place? So I think that if we can answer that question, why we go to work, maybe my perspective is as to our being home, own our own businesses, make money, become wealthy, have a happy family, and have all aspects of life successful, right? So if that's the dream, I feel like narrowing ourselves down into like, hey, I'm okay with my 30,000 per hit per month. So I should just stick to this job and we'll just grow slowly. I think that our main goal in life should be checked all the times. So if we like the strategies to check how fast am I going to be wealthy, if I don't do that, then I may
also not be wealthy at all if I don't think like that, if I don't do personal check, as I got said earlier. So my main aim, why I'm saying diversifying of careers, I feel like try things, try a few things. You are a doctor, but can you try singing? You may never know. Sometimes, again, we say luck. Luck may strike. So I believe that trying a few things, doing two jobs, uh, you know, may not only be in your line. You may be a doctor, but also on the other side, you have some side hustles. So I realize that these side hustles have been way better than they had in career. To the extent that when they get to wealthy, now they quit employment and focus entirely on their side hustles. So I feel like diversifying risks is one thing that we don't have that in our mind as we get to employment. So maybe I'm on that. So we're just giving examples. I can get employed, but I would want to say I would like to be a real estate investor. So my area of concern is not just getting early in the morning, going to work, coming home, getting salary, because we can never get wealthy with just salary. So I believe that most of us, everybody on earth, member here, we should have other options and we should be passionate. I mean, career of choice should just be one of the stepping stones or bigger dream of getting wealthy on earth at one point. So we are women again on that issue. Um, so our career choices another thing is a strategy more and competition with our peers or peer influence. Yeah, I know very well. And you know, and a lot of focus on our big goals becoming wealthy. We can feel pressure, like I know what I want to do, or living for others. You want to impress others. I think that's one of the strategy that may fail us in career or the end of our career. Because at 60 years old, we will all gather at one point, maybe nation of Agobola. We'll be asking each other, what have you done? What did you do when you were doing this? What did you do when you were working with this organization? So I tend to think that as leaders, we need to see ourselves like, where do we want to be in the next 20 years? Having long-term goals. So I think people focus mostly on short-term goals. And all that to impress others, but we lose focus on the bigger goal of becoming wealthy, having a healthy family, having kids going to school and having them situated and retiring when touring the earth. Now you tour everywhere because maybe that's your big job, big goal. So I believe that as much as we are pursuing careers, let us not bury all our head in the careers because career should just be one of the aspects. But let us diversify. Let us put our hands somewhere. Because the Amoroka Chande, Keto, with the Morobin Kacha Channel, I can be disappointed. Career deck, the Mbele, yes, I mean, our I said you are everywhere. So another thing is that lack of having networks. I mean, we get contented, just as I said earlier, network is something we don't really need right now. I think there's a say which goes, feel free to stop me, I talk a lot. There's a say which goes like, yeah, make friends before you need them. I feel like in network world, we must learn how to make networks, how to find networks, and maintain them. Because we may have networks, but we don't use them. So it's worthless of having network which is not helping you. Keep networks active. Let us check on these people. Like, I was just checking on how are you doing? Or just make the way we do with the Facebook, following up and when Nani has posted something. Check your network. What are they doing? And follow up with them so that they remember you. Because again, network is more of how much they remember you than how much you remember them. So I feel like that's one of the strategy which we may not know right now, but it's worth knowing that yeah, although they know me, that when I approach them, no, I remember you did presentation. You know, like, you may remember you. But do you remember me? You know, that kind of networking. So I feel like we need to, when we talk of network, we need to really see that other aspect, like let them know us rather than we knowing them. Anyway, I would like to learn there, but if I think of other points to add,
Eh, Ongalo, in very name of future. In give me any name of future. Network no is, I think is the second, probably second last part of the question. Mane odo way. Kori name of future. Can the way my bad kabisa to, can summarize. You way about comfort. Way about people thinking they're not replaceable. Way about bedogi papas. Way about side hustles. Bedogi option B diversification matter. Uh, options like even career wise, competition, the peer pressure, you go about finally or lastly network. Ma actually gindi ma important kabisa kenda I like ni tackle the question head on ma that was exactly my apparent question required us to talk about aneno ka Jojo Lwar but wabro the discussion. I had two follow-up questions. Tonimar Jojo Lwar abro me each of you and then we move to the next part of this next rounds. Koro menena follow up. But it's really interesting because I realized ni both in the Ragot, I had almost the same follow-up question for you, because we were mostly about balancing between, should I say, stability, the risk matter moving forward, because I go to worry about monopoly, team of the same thing, exploring, corona gomo mananto, ngato nyalo balance between bedi situation ma en gisani versus risking. Can you practically ng'ato nyalo balance nadi kata what are some of the things ng'ato bending on this is the time to make a move. For example, idwaro bedo manager mar a company, what exactly do you do mondo ok lose? Maybe how do you compete? What's about peer pressure, and peer pressure sometimes may include even competition within. How do you make sure no kin comfortable, how do you again make sure no kin too stagnant? How do you balance between the risk mar moving forward against making sure in stable lose career iwacho ni of ambitious, maybe and our 2 minutes each, ragot gi ongalo, and then ka George duogo George taporo obro temo lero no way about some of the opportunities from building experience, like very strategic thinking kind of uh, uh, thoughts mege George koro en aparo ni George ni nyalo ikri ni whether long term planning is overrated, especially in fast changing economies like Kenya and Africa. Like, is it long term? Ni kori long I plan itimo career itimo, for example, ni way about katamana volunteering for some of these things. Is it overrated, or is it you feel still is still in order? Mano mar George, ibro temo duoko mana batungalo kachako gi Ragot. Miwa any under 2 minutes, magi mana follow up questions. Koro you just be brief. Under 2 minutes, how do you balance between the risk and stability? You want to move forward, but you don't want to, you don't like, you're not tagged as of ambitious. To book a bit of too stagnant in your career. Ragot, then Ongalo, same question. George has a different question. Yeah.
Thank you. That's a good question. You know, with the ambitious, we will combine the ambitious. All these are good, but it also depends on what you are eyeing. To my understanding, the male of ambitious, being a little bit in the male anxious, to do something, to move from one point to the other. In the name of danger mind God is one. It can make you lose stability, or it can make you lose the track. In that, in the moment you come back from, in the moment you move, you move from there. opportunity. Well, what you're doing is because of looking at what their principles or what their objectives are. You find yourself moving in, getting an opportunity to work with them. Later, each activity journey can be more mature, but is also doing something maybe line in better way or the scale is much better. So the thing is much better, you move there. This will make these people know you. When you make these people know you, people, employers in this particular organization will start marking you as a reality. Have seen it or have seen it or take part. That is why. And one good thing with of ambitious, when one is eager to learn, when one is eager to learn, now not so I take on that. So the changing technology that can also make one to be of ambitious to know anxious or someone is to know more about the area of operation. Probably you need to say, until they make it right. So I say, man, I know how I love more to gain experience. Such more gain experience, so how would we grow? Such more grow, what do we learn? Uh, there's one thing my son will learn and control the world in all lines of professionalism. Data, data analysis. So it is the thing when they get AI. Come on, you know, more. To get the time, the data analysis, how can you match to outsmart your command team of those there's a lie. But you need to even they can move so fast. They will come up with ideas to outsmart even the AI. When you send them the still exist, they're still there. One baby is there to share. So whatever never be more than one skill for us to survive with our mission more than one skill. So what you doing, for example, me doing emotional work, how the days, can I analyze using the Javan we share simply can be used when presenting or writing papers on the stage. Not as the man in a material wait at Mano, ito nga ako, is a good standing, even with the organization. The person can do the two things, not even one. If I wish to volunteer and I don't see my two things, you are at risk. My thing, my understanding, that's ambition. Someone who's ambitious, how it can help and how it cannot help. Thank you.
Erokamano, erokamano awinji maber. Ongalo, iwacho nango daktari, in niparo ni, what is the balance between risk and stability? Where is the balance? Mana under 2 minutes, kapok wa move to the next round of questions. Nimara pano beodo mana tiek in the next 42 minutes. Tuwatika tika. For one be about 3/4 of an hour to finalize.
How to balance the risk. Always, we always focus on minimal risk and which never exists. Like literally, what exists is high risk, high reward, right? But as you try to make moves, it's always advisable to the risk should the rewards or benefits should outweigh the risk. So I would say that every move is a risk. But the main thing is, why take a risk which helps me move towards it? What is my main aim is, or my biggest goal is to get wealthy. So that big goal ways and the risks around here. So I'll ask my question. I'll go back to my big goal. The risk matter make me or matter attack me. Does it move me closer to my goal, or it is not necessary? So I'll put all the pros and cons on a piece of paper, pen and paper. Here all the pros, cons, and I say it outweigh it, then that will really determine my move. Another thing is that move is growth. If move enhances my growth, and if I grow, the quicker I get to my bigger goal of getting wealthy, then why not? There's this other aspect of risk. Not only I will support my first point is that I'm employed, very stable career, which gives me 100,000 Kenya shillings every month. And there's an opportunity which opens up, and I see that I have all that it takes. Everybody can support me to get a 300,000 month job, but it is only a contract which lasts for 5 years. I'll do my calculation like I would rather stay in my workplace for 15 years to get the same amount that I'll get in 5 years. So my reasoning will be, should I stay where I'm getting 100 and I'm stable? Or should I go to a 300 job, 1,000 job for a short while? That's a very tough decision, but easy, as you can see. Why waste 15 years to get the same amount and we get in 5 years? That means I'll get closer to my being wealthy and enjoying my wealth when I'm still strong, and so that really would be, I mean, it beats the logic, so it makes a lot of sense to move. But again, before you move, you really have to make sure that can you work in your kianya, because you never achieve kianya, you know, actually achieve no kianya, katangaza wako kisichope we maembe balikuja barabara basi kidogo pesa cha bako in duniani dwa. So at least the strategies of moving and they make sure you have good rapport and always leave the door open. Catching more natural work mbele kuchivi cha 300,000 hicho contract or within 2 months. Ija cha kidungi wachini bwana. You know, have good relationship with your bosses everywhere you go. So they can always welcome you back. And that one can only happen if you're an asset. If you're dependable, they depend on you rather than you depending on them for the salary. The point one of my check in the culture. Risk. Life is all about risk. And if you don't take risk, lose what don't take risk. That's why sometimes we don't do well. I believe it is high time we start taking risks. And just like the other time I don't want to watch a Rajik, how Umayan Kajija. Why don't we take risk? Let us diversify everywhere. Take risk worth taking and give them product. That's what I would think.
Erokamano. Erokamano duong' sana. Nimar iwuoyo maber, to ing'e ni ka ng'ato osewuoyo maber to koro I don't want to put awach nade ketho gimisewacho. Ikete kaka en concentrated kamano, koro ok adwa interfere gi kata ok adwa donjo gi gimisewacho maber kabisa. Nimar Jojo ongeto penjona moro ne en mana adwa nodwoko about whether long term planning is overrated or is it necessary, especially seche ma things change so fast. But onge koro we just move to the next part or next round of questions. And for the interest of time, I think I might just want to move directly to Koro Mentorship Networking because somebody Ngalo to be more specific mentioned about it. Koro, one of the things managombo ng'eyo because ni wacho ni your network is your network, which I agree. But koro nitie there's this a bit interesting thing kind of not all of us have access to or have privileges to some of these networks. So my question to all of us, that is now record Giongalo, anybody else? Aneno Japolo donjo kae, Renisha osebedo kae, Nyaliet aneno kodonjo, Mercy osebedo kae, Monde osebedo kae, Hilary Jacomo osebedo kae, Jacinta aneni kendo machiegni. Erokamano, ang'eyo ni Jacinta ber, aneno kibiro kendo ber kabisa. Kawuono inwang'o access to Luo Nation ber. Koro penjona en ni, ya iwacho maber sana, kendo niwacho ni your network is your network. To is situation man not all of us has access to this network. So how can practical skills or steps on how can someone without access to this elite network still find and leverage on mentorship or this networking thing effectively? Ongalo, you mentioned about this, and Ragot also at some point, all of us in one way or another have talked about networking and network. Because Ongalo already mentioned this, could I wished we just sat with Ongalo. Ongalo, how can we find and leverage me, you, and anybody else, especially Jogo Maungo, this access to some of these networks? How do they find and leverage on these elite networks and get the mentorship or any form of whether professional or whatever training or even opportunities through these networks? Or they are doomed and there's nothing they can do. Ongalo kinyalo dok mana then record.
Thank you.
Iwinjori maber kabisa.
Network dwaro ka network although how can we make that? How can we make them think in order rather than asking like more than asking each other? This can only be done when we show interest in what they like. You know, let's say you interact with a professor. They may always like this, but what does he think? What does he like? Then spend more time what he like and what he wants. People like solution into the individual. So you see the gaps, smiling for I said identify gaps. Then try to learn to see the gaps in his interested area. Then kids are good in any aspects. If you're not an asset, then you're just any other person might met in the conference and say hi, hi. You can't remember everybody at the conference. What stands out is how are you willing to solve their problems? Why not bring them for you or get interest in you? I'm not thinking that's one side we have to we've been networking. So we have to make this because see that one has low profits. And again, another aspect also is getting to they're like sometimes you almost like remember them with their name or Mr. Dr. William Woodian. I like your presentation on this. Actually something I've been working on because geographic pitching. Yes, what you think was like kind of related to what I'm doing. And now whether you've been able to see these trends like the population of releasing mosquito is reducing in the other province. Maybe we'll say for strategic manager give like what do you think about it? Engage them and you'll that I mean I'm just giving an example. I like giving stories. So you look at this guy gets interested. Oh, so that young man there said, go beyond imagine. And what you may realize again, let's say now at your any you identify what you think is challenging for them. Let's say data, you don't need data, their analysis, data analysis for against what the negative model analysis more about the percentage, unique identity. Chalo kama this percentage or not being this percentage. Could be looking at I don't think that reduction of QVC mosquito in Nyanza is really helpful because I read this statistic going near the population in 2024, 2025. I don't think it's a big margin, like based on my statistical tool. And I use some new technique here to analyze this data. It doesn't make sense to me, and I wish people could be seeing this data as I'm seeing it. But you can say, he says, sell your give what your contribution, your solution to his problem. You see, I want you earlier. Let me go slowly. Identifying their challenges or their gaps. Try to address those gaps before you talk to them. Then when you meet them, you have to solutions to their gap. This person will look for you. This person will be interested in you. This person go with you. Another opportunity which talks about the same thing again. Compromise. Again, always be lively. People are lively and smiling and being positive in life. So I think we need to create and sustain networks, and I feel like that would be a good strategy for doing this. It's something we're working on. Oh, I'm just giving you my personal assumption and way of thinking when it comes to networking. So it may not be this 100 whatever I'm just saying here is 100. It may or may not work. But also, I like to hear what my colleagues and other guys are working with their networking to make them sustained and beneficial to them. So networking is very key, and I believe that if we don't have make and sustain networks, then that really is not helpful for us, especially in the site world or corporate world. I would like to end there. But again, thank you.
Erokamano. Aparo nabro penji part moro kanyo but be iduoke, maybe to be clear, iduoke, abro penji kochopo time no. Koro wawinje ni kod Charles wacho nang'o i wachno. In iparo ni what are some of the actions or strategies that somebody can use to access networks and or rather to find these networks and leverage on mentorship and this network effectively? Eh,
Microphone with management. Again, only we just.
wawinji 100% clear.
Number one, I'll start with the most awkward one. How many people do you know? How do you know them? And do they know you? There's a difference between knowing people or knowing someone and someone knowing you in the same having all space. Yeah, man, I got chance and always have say, but you don't know me too. Ability matter. The same way, look at that. One time when they were kids, this social network may go on to know our ability, what we can do in terms of performance. The same thing when I got on somebody can relate to, and someone can second to a facility, to an organization, or to a friend. You get the cycle. For example, when you do that, you know, fundi moro timo ni plumbing work maber kabisa. To see moro be get. And you just go and look at now that translates to a network because you'll be earning from this person. Then this same person connects you to a friend, the social network. Then the social networks into the social forums. How do we meet and where do we meet and where do we interact? A good example is the birthday parties of our children. People know birthday or listening at tomorrow, birthday party listening at tomorrow. There's barely 1 year old. People coming to this birthday party or could be because of that child. And tell that child offer a platform for connection, social for networking. And then we form a network for even this child, your birthday maybe to celebrate it without her knowledge or his knowledge. And then we come to the social gathering. We socialize. You look at that. The one baby can also form parts of professional the professional improvement in terms of the type of people you meet with, the type of joints you move into, shapes one person, but shapes a person. Even the way one thinks, these social joints can just make a drastic change. You know that? So that's my major take on my network is my network. Because from all this networking can lead to someone being airlifted even from one country to another. And when this thing you're doing here, it can be done this end, but on this time, so you see it's there. So that networking has improved one's responsibility, one's person's growth financially, professionally, and experience wise. Yes. Um, there is also another good example I normally use. Well, it may sound weird. Ukachecho. Like, natuko deka changa. Kawagi gimana changa sa personal language. What do you expect? Ngana bilo mapijok man. And that will tell us the mind. What are these people? What will we be thinking? Different place, kata high-end joints, come over, you want the beer, you take wine, you take water, it's better place. But the joints also plays a critical role in our thinking in formation.
Awinji sana. Rakot, apani wuoyo maber kendo ayie kodi gik mang'eny. To mana koro kaka Ongalo nosewuoyo, in be isewuoyo. To nitie element maparo ni ichiwo, to nadwa napogu penjo gima to kore na follow up kapok wadhi the last, it can be the second last or last depending on how much time we want to have or we have on this. But kapok wadhi on that or to that, nagombo ni apenjo Ongalo gi in be penjo achiel achiel each. This is just under 2 minutes because it's just follow up kalure gik muwacho ma yiego mang'eny. Ongalo wuoyo about especially methods ma ng'ato nyalo tiyogo, tibe iwuoyo about these methods. Koro nagombo pogo ni Ongalo oteme wachonwa some of the things because kalure kaka nowuoyo seems to be uh, uh, making a mentor in his submission. He was making a mentor. Koro Ongalo kinyalo wachowa some of the things ma make someone mentorable. Ang'o make someone mentorable? Ma kineno tiwacho ni or koneni to somebody will say this is mentorable. This is somebody I can work with. This is somebody I can make this particular level, kind of, whatever you want. What are some of the things that can make someone mentorable? Maybe under 2 minutes. To nware ragoto wuoyo sana, especially in terms of the processes. Kata how exactly ma somebody or places ma ng'ato nyalo bedo mentors, giving very uh, good examples and stories mabeyo sana ma make this even clearer. But koro nagombo rango ragot mondo range bende the other direction. What are some of the mistakes ma people make, especially when approaching these mentors or networks gi? Mako ng'ato ni to they say no, this one Ongalo is going to tackle what makes someone mentorable, in adwa ni tackle what makes them no. When somebody sees you, no, this one no. This one I cannot mentor, or I cannot work with, or I cannot network with, or I don't want to keep in my networks. Koro ngalo kinyalo biri wacho what are some of the two, or no, in 2 minutes, what are some of the things that make us or make someone mentorable? And then and after that, what are some of the mistakes that people make, especially in within their networks or within their mentorship, or even the processes and the actions Malika. Ongalo, please. I'm gonna make someone mentorable.
Yeah. So I would maybe call it interest, but way more than interest, passion, way more than passion, enthusiasm or enthusiasm on what you're talking about. Let's say you're talking about you're working on malaria, jackpot research, malaria research. You going beyond what your scope, you going beyond your scope. You should be like, let's say you're somebody who is employed as a research scientist, maximum malaria research, and the Matula legal example, you report, that's your job description. What makes people identify you as a mentorable person? Your interest, enthusiasm, which goes beyond just that work. Besides just doing this, getting digging deeper into every segment of whatever you're doing and expressing that enthusiasm and showing something, reading more, and just wanting to learn more, not stopping at the job description. It may take a while, but people you when they see they'll be pulled towards mentoring. Also, I think that's the biggest aspect of it, like your enthusiasm in what you do, going beyond what you're supposed to do is what really sticks out. And again, your interaction also. How do you put yourself across? How do you express your interest? You may be so much interested in something, but you don't know how to put it across there. How does it come across? So when you're talking about it, give an example here. Somebody, say we have employees who are doing PCR, mosquito PCR. Let's call it a test because PCR may also be a jargon. So we are testing mosquitoes. We're both enthusiastic. We're both motivated. We both like it. Then somebody asks, oh, person A, hey, person A, you're working on malaria. Can you tell me about what you're doing in malaria? And then person A goes like, just get this malaria, get the results, meet these people, the organization uses them to make decisions. It doesn't be what do you do about malaria? Then you go beyond. You say, this is my scope, this is what I'm doing right now. And it's a very interesting area. Like we are researching on this, let's say we are researching on malaria repellents, mosquito repellents. And you go way beyond. Right? You say, currently the only existing repellents, you can say, malaria is a big deal, man, it's killing women, children, and this very normally this lake region, and this is what has motivated this organization, PEPFAR, CDC, blah blah blah, to come and invest in CDC in Cambridge here to do this research in malaria. My contribution is and I was collecting some big PCR, and in front of me, I'm realizing some interesting data. I'm seeing some interesting data, like I'm seeing this number of load of situation is going up in this time. This has really motivated me even to pursue masters in entomology. Now I'm working on entomology in just getting the story going, getting the story. You can never end. You love this thing that so much that you can never end. So that makes you better. So I think the various aspects, being holistic in what you're doing way more than what you're just paid to do. I think that what sets you. It's called exceeding expectation. When you exceed expectation, you become marketable. Then the next thing also becoming dependable. You take a job in time. You're always ready to do it. You're always proactive. You can chat. Your boss has asked you that if I give Josh this will be done. So that kind of person will always be even if you're not. People discuss even in offices where you're not well, they'll always remember you, they'll always talk about your name. And I think that's how you make yourself
Amako weche ariyo motegno. What makes somebody mentorable? Go beyond the expectations and be dependable. Ang'e ni wacho gik mang'eny, but weche go come out very strongly.
and enthusiasm kikiweka.
Into,
That's the driving force.
ero, into, yeah, enthusiasm. Aneno Karagot olwar, lakini Oluande dwa kawo kare, niwach aneno Karagot olwar to Oluande okawo mic. Oluande kia ni replace Ragot, to kawo kamano to aparo bro dhi next part of the question. Nidwa contribute Oluande kapok wadhi next part of the contribution. En a mentorship. Ang' ma question mar Ragot, for example, kinyalo introduce yourself noluande to en ng'ato interest ni gi passion ni mentorship gi career talk ni en mane your bit of your background, because here we try also to speak to generations. We speak to so many people, jonyuol, nyithindo, generations ta is an intergenerational talk. We would love to know ni ng'ane mawuoyo kodwa. Koro if you can start with the introduction, and then you probably, if it's possible, then you can try answering that question, especially mistake Maji make when approaching mentors and when networking. Ni question maragot, but generally question ma watemo od sani wasewuoyo about a number of things. We may not go back, but how to access actually somebody who is have no access, because we have different people at different levels of life and social uh, circles. There are people who do not have access to allied networks. How can they find these networks and leverage on them, leverage the mentorship effectively? Man, was the overall question as part of the this segment. We have at least 3-4 segments, but this is the what we are talking about now: mentorship and networking. Koro kinyalo introduce yourself, and then if you have something to contribute, it's okay. If you don't, then we might just move to the probably the final, or if there are so many questions, and I had a number of questions, but for the interest of time, we may not be able to go through all of them. Koro, we might just go to the last one, and if we still happy, we can go to the next. But maybe Kinyalo contribute Oluwande by mostly introducing yourself, and if you can contribute, that would be great.
Of course, I'm a teacher by profession, English literature, but I don't teach English literature nowadays. I am into humanitarian field, and specifically, I teach child protection courses. So, building career may take time. It takes time. It takes time for people to trust you, to be able to work with you. And for me, I think this is my 6th year of experience since I graduated. And yes, I'm still pushing on. Um, just recently, of course, at least I got certification to be monitor and evaluation specialist. But again, that works along in the
humanitarian field because that is where my focus is. As I said earlier, yes, I can teach English, but I don't focus on it as much. So for me, I think networking depends on the approach you're taking to be in, and especially what you really want to achieve. For example, on if I speak, for me, I like using my own examples, my own experiences. For me, I get my networks first of all through my LinkedIn app. Number two, through conferences and workshops and events. So that is where I get my network per se. And I can testify that the network I have gotten, they are so useful to me in terms of building my career because these days somebody can just call me like, okay, I know you can do this. Can you do this for me? And of course, when you do it, you will earn money. But again, mistakes people make, especially when networking, first of all, most people what is scared to okay, what is scared they may introduce. For example, I was in a workshop, they may introduce lesson one, you see I have masters, maybe child psychology. I also did my undergraduate in this university right now, I'm talking big. Then most people will just want to take my contact. So when you take my contact will be like validated because hujui ni lengo gani ulikuwa unachukua hiyo namba in the first place. So that number remains something just to be kept. So you find that you have so many numbers of very important people, but they're not helping you because you've not really defined what you really want someone to do for you. For example, in a forum nalipata nina Larry Mado. For me, I want him to maybe take my career in the next step. I can tell him, okay, I see you do this. Can you work on something that can make money in this way? Then somebody would want to listen to you. And for me, I think I don't know if it's only work for me because for me, I'm very bold. Actually, when I want something, I'll just tell you. Even if you're the president, I'll just excuse myself and tell you this is what I want. But I don't think all of us have the same personality. So for me, I've gone to people and I've just told them, okay, I see you're doing this. I like your work. Depending on whatever you've discussed, but can we work out something that can maybe earn us a business? So for me, I'm bold and I can do that very well. But now, talking about people who probably cannot speak well before other people, I think that if you've notified someone who can help you or you can work with, ensure that one, you get the contact, two, even if you cannot express yourself properly, you can do an email and with your proposal and this was not your email, blah 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 in this event. And I saw you work with this. You've been doing this, and I'm also interested, and this is my proposal, so that he can tell you if you can move forward from that. For those who cannot talk, so I feel when you're networking, you should really identify your career, and I think this is the most hardest thing to do. And this is the most disturbing thing that like affects so many people in terms of their career development. Because I remember even in a time in my life, I never defined what exactly I wanted to do me like maybe in the next few years I'm a chef because I love cooking. The next minute I want to do something else. The next minute I'm modeling. Actually, I've even modeled. I got that from there. Again, I started business. I did several businesses. I got tired because business you really have to really focus and give it 100% of your attention. So before somebody really defines, like now, before you start down that you see, for me, my passion is within humanitarian framework. It really took me time to really analyze whatever I want to do. So for my advice is when you're working out there, define what you want to really do. If you're interested in engineering, align yourself with engineers who can help you get to where you want to be. Don't just pick numbers from people and keep in your phone, knowing fully well that you'll not be helped. Probably you've just been interested by somebody's hard work with probably achievements. So I think that is the most mistake that so many people do in terms of networking. So last as I conclude, for me, I think networking is just not knowing people because knowing someone is not enough. But bringing out yourself out there so that people can know you with what you do, not just knowing you for whom you are. Like right now in this platform, people know me with whom I am because most of the time when we come here, we talk, we make stories. But even now, I want to focus on career and want a visibility of what I do. And I think that that is now where most of us are failing. And you know, in those events, these days people don't even ask for business. Events. I just ask business card. I just ask you, wow, that's great. Wow, that's great. What is your LinkedIn? What is your LinkedIn? Or what is your folio? Then somebody will just click there and there on the mobile phone and check. And now you find that we are not aligned to these things, like documenting what we do, and especially digitally. And that is really a crack. It brings a crack to so many of us. So I think now, when also it comes to networking, you have to be on toes. In that you've said, okay, I can do this. But if somebody needs proof, that person should be able to get it immediately there and there. So that is now where the importance of documenting what you do comes in. So I think with those few remarks, I'll talk later. Thank you.
Eh, Bironi was timely. Very strong submission, Kendo. Ichigo some of the mistakes from just our contacts to course document, even your own work experience and professional. I mean, just being a professional, even in some of this approach, and sometimes even knowing the reason why we do a network in the first place. Koro, yeah, it's good. Kendo the introduction was good. That's really, really appreciated. For the interest of time, I think I had so many questions actually, but we may not be able to go through all of them, although this is just one of the many episodes that we will have. So probably sometimes later on we'll talk about these things, and we've already talked about some of them. Taneno ka the fact ni even people like Oluwande bira bira donji discussion nyiso ni this is something that kendo donjo tineno kume contribution ma very relevant and interesting. Nyiso this is something that needs to continue because uh, people are really showing interest and have probably been following up these things. Koro, because of time, let me just give each of you one question each. Sorry, this is slightly different because I'm also trying to make sure that we cover as many questions as possible now. But again, without losing the overall trend. Because we've talked about strategy, we've talked about mentorship, we may not be able to cover fully on the element or aspect of execution, but I just wanted us to have each question just to tell us probably each of us ongalo maybe kinyalo wuoyonu about how, for example, uh, do we let me just check that because I'm trying to get the most interesting some of these. I have a number of them. Yeah. So how do we, for example, uh, handle setbacks, especially in periods of stagnation? How do we handle, for example, setbacks in periods of stagnation? And maybe as part of that question, kabe inyalo teme lero matin ni, and again, how exactly do you stay consistent? Those are two questions that are very, very related. How do you handle setbacks in times or at times of stagnation or stagnation? And how do you stay consistent when results are slow and invisible? ETO, but nobody's seeing it. You also don't see it. You are stagnant. They are setback. Nitie tema ber then watch ni kwalo pesa moro kata organization or mentor moro mani igeno ni se invest kuome. It's normal. Itimo PhD, your supervisor or the or ni teach to ni sesomo AI to wanyin koro AI is very useless. We need manual works. Like setting or something, there's a setback or somebody set time gimoro but you don't see the results. How do you handle this and ensure consistency? Mano part mana gombo ni ungalo otemie duoko mano to Grace kiparo to in to koro lerwa ni at what point ma ng'ato pivot versus persist. At what time do you now inirango the others element, the other part of it? Ogalo will tell us how to stay consistent despite all that. But in other only learn one to when is the time to leave now? When is the time to look for something else to do or stop and do something slightly different? Koroka, and maybe some of the uh, people minge mobile say opt out and what exactly they do. Manokoro Grace Olwande. There are two questions again, but very related. Ongalo kinyalo dwokwani, how do you remain consistent? Okine result, you are stagnant, you are invisible, or rather actions mikawa are not seen. Maybe somebody else is taking the credit for your work. You need to, but you realize ni katamana supervisor ni or your line manager or anybody else or even colleagues are taking credit. You are in, it's, everything is just low. You thought ninyalo tieko this project idwaro prove kaka niwacho ni nyakiti matek mondo ishow enthusiasm ibed itim beyond ibed dependable but koro things are not just working. What do you do Ongalo?
Yeah, that is another dimension of life that people never look at or talk about. I think when things stop working and your expectations get thwarted, it's always good to know that you can always rely on your future goals that you have in life as motivation.
Onge shida we kara wanini Olwande kibitemie dwoko to nagombo winjo mana ni though I really loved I would have loved winjo Ngalo before kapoka winji because he needed you with other part of the same question. But you can just come mondo ang'e to Grace, where do you live? Things are not working. You are stagnant. You are invisible. The results is not being seen. The effort, it everything else, but of work. When do you leave and when do you persist? When do you keep going? This is time to keep going. Don't give up. Show up every day. Do what you do. Explore more options. But when do you now say, no, enough. I'm going.
very important. I was just maybe saying in this group, there's a time we were working with a friend of mine on a certain project, which was in line with climate change. So we think that we are going to use the waste materials maybe to create a good product that can, you know, can be reused instead of now as a way to conserve the environment. And I remember when we started, it was not easy. For me, I was not patient enough, and I felt like we are investing our time, our energy, and you see, it was not working. But immediately I left it. Immediately I just left. Someone just came in and invested in that project. So if I really was patient enough, probably I would have been far. And I can tell you for a fact that lady that we started with that project, that was my idea. She's very far. So that can just tell you the importance of consistency and patience. And again, if you look at it, before people even trust you, it is just like business. It has to take time. Somebody cannot just trust you that, okay, today I'm going to give you probably even 2 million to do this work. If the person has not seen your work before. But if you do your work to perfection, or you invest in your work, it might take time, but it will reach a point now you'll just be getting referrals. It will reach a point that you'll not even be looking for these jobs anymore because people will just be referring others to you that you see. If you want ABCD done, they will go and look for such a person. The person will do the job for you now. Very well. But now you know that most of the time, what makes people lose interest is the fact that probably there's not enough resources. Number two, probably you're also struggling. And number four is maybe you're not sure, you're not certain of the future. But for me, I feel life is about taking risk. I think when I got in the first time I was getting in, I had somebody saying that. It is really true. So for me, I always feel like if you decided to do something, I remember there was a time in my life when I was just doing so much at the same time. But if you look at the fruits are not there. Until somebody told me, hey, focus on this one, finish it, then now move to the next thing. So that now is called consistency. You have to be consistent, finish one particular task and move to another one. Same to career. In career, if you want to grow and if you focus like now, be in academia. And for me to grow, I really have to invest. Investing through means certifications. If I can, I go and degrees or masters if I have the money to do it. But I always must work so hard to remain relevant in the job market. That is number one strategy. Number two, you have to be patient. Like for example, that is now where I lost my patience. Like the TSC, they were employing someone for 2 years for internship, and you earn probably 20,000. Then now they employ you officially, you start maybe earning 65. Then after 3 years, now you go to 100. So you see, if you calculate those years, very few people can accommodate that struggle. But for people who have accommodated that struggle, and right now probably they have really been there TSC, right? I can say they are bearing fruits. People probably who we finished with and immediately they decided to just go for TSC and start teaching from there. They are seeing those fruits right now because right now they can say they're going to be paid permanent and pensionable, and again they're given money that they feel that can sustain themselves. So for me, I think well said and done, we have to be patient and we have to be consistent. And when you feel like okay, you cannot continue anymore, one, always have a plan B. For example, you said now, I don't want to continue with this job anymore. Decide, okay, when I leave this job, what am I doing next? Are you going to sit at home or have you looked for another job that you're going to go to? That is number one question. What next? And also ask yourself, is if this what next does not work, what is the plan B? So don't find yourself in a situation where you've left what you've worked for maybe for 5 years, then you go back to square zero. And building something again afresh is always very difficult. So you have to look at the pros and cons before you make such decisions, and especially when it comes to her career. Thank you very much.
Erokamani, ingin kani chako chiwo submission, I thought you were going to leave that other part me mentioned because in my question that was the biggest part of the question, but it's good that you also tackled that. Because I actually wanted you to also look at it in terms of when do you now leave? Because Ngal was going to look at it, how do you remain consistent despite the results, despite the setbacks, despite the invisibility, the reward, no gratification, no appreciation, nobody's clapping for you, you cannot even sing hopes. How do you remain consistent? And you were to kind of look at now that I'm done, I want to go. When do you now make that decision? But it's good that you've also, in the end, try to talk about that. Korongala, can you in a position because I just wanted us to close this soon so that we call it a day because we'll still have other parts of the same talk. But this has been really, really learning experience for all of us, and in maybe to remind us, this kind of conversation is being recorded and can be replayed, can be used for reference, and we encourage even our teenagers, our teens, our friends, anybody that you think can benefit from this, we will encourage us to just share even with other people. And whatever ways that you can support, be it your presence, be it your contributions, anything that you can use to support this noble initiative is really, really appreciated, including and so importantly, your presence and especially to the guests and speakers, Makuru Woyoka, because without you people, then this is not even necessary. For all this is appreciated, but awuoyo mani bara paro ni unga, lakini in a position to talk now. Okay, yes, please proceed. Quite short, thank you.
Yeah, so I was saying, asking how we keep going. So to keep going is very hard. Very hard, especially when you don't feel appreciated. So keep going, keep moving is the option that we're going to handle because we better look focus on the solution rather than the problem we create right now. What we do when we are in that environment? What we do. So what we do now is I think we should focus on how do we protect ourselves, do we guard ourselves. I feel like it is very necessary to put some things in writing, also emails which exposes all the evils that are being done towards you, especially if you are maybe, let's say, professor is taking your idea, giving to other students and things like that, and you can always ask question, right? Very question which is not combative, question which is not like you are seeking clarification. That's what you want to be asking, like you are seeking clarification about your project and how does it look like it's clashing with so and so's project. We am I still working on this idea that just asking things like that through writing. It's write. You write emails, write whatever you can write. And if you still feel not satisfied, you can also always, I think, involve the uh, next level of chain of command, your boss, and talk to somebody who may be able to. And also, after talking to those people, just make sure you back, uh, write back to them to confirm that. Just make sure that I got this clear. And thanks a lot, for giving me a listening, and I hope this is going forward. Just keep writing, put something in the writing because you can use them. And I guess against those malpractices. Also, the general freedom, I think it's always good to move to a lab, right? Network and talk with the professors who will be supportive, which you can work in the lab and just tell them what's going on. You feel like this is going on. You have evidences like emails and what you are told. And even if sometimes you realize this professors don't, then when you feel like you're coding them to writing, they never like to respond. So sometimes it's just good to confirm again, like just to confirm that based on our conversation today, this is what we agreed on, and this is what is expected of me, and this is what I've done so far. Just put everything again in situations where they are dealing with you unfairly. They always never like recording things. They don't like it being formal. They usually pick areas where like just let us talk it my way. So I think it is necessary to have a good recording of whatever stations you are facing. Another thing, what you have to do, you rather have to keep motivating yourself as you look forward to moving, because that's what land is going to talk about on the talk on how they have. So, how do you keep yourself motivated? Find the intrinsic source of motivation. What motivates you in what you do? That will help you to stay for the short time as you are looking for your way out. I think an example is, I would say, looking at the picture when this is all done and not losing hope. When this is all done, this is what the outcome will look like. Trying to picture that and use that as a motivation would be a short-term, short-term motivation. I mean, push, which will help you to push through. Then also never die in stress alone. I think most environments nowadays, or employment of which employment what environments have this counseling, and you can always talk to therapists or a counselor about your case, and make sure many people are notified about what's going on. And sometimes you may fear reporting things because you fear of being terminated or something like that. But again, even if you don't, you'll still be terminated, or the end will justify the means. So what's the worst which can happen? Only to be terminated, right? So doomed if you do, doomed if you don't. So why act? Because if you don't act, you still end up with the same thing that you're fearing. So I feel like it's necessary to take actions early enough, report as much as you can, and seek help, seek help, seek help. Thank you.
Eh, erokamano. Ogala paro na winji maber sana kendo chiwo very one thing I like about us, especially when talking about some of these things, is spaces we are very uh, practical as possible, and especially with our submissions. And thank you so much, both Ungalo Gulu and both of your submissions are very practical and reflect so much things what in the ground. Nimar wase manatieko, unless you want any watch mar modwan ini, but I really wanted maybe Ungalo Nimara ngene de camera. You can just give your final thoughts or anything that you want to to say about this conversation, this like general closing remarks. Then we just close it, maybe half past. But was a bit of discussion maber kabisa kendo. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. This is great. I appreciate it. But ongalo kinyalo me your final remarks, and then Oluwande maybe can give us more bro when giving her final remarks.
I don't have much to add. I just want to appreciate you for planning all this, and I wish it would be helpful for people listening. Maybe just to summarize, I'd like to say that we need to have more of these discussions. And I would also like that this could be shared with the individuals who are not here, like it could be like a classroom, because we realize that the most effective way in career choice is to take this to high schools. High schools is the best place to do this because that's where most confusion occur. Most 90% of the will tell you that they don't know what they want to become when they grow up. So I feel like that they can, pick anything that shows up and go ahead. So I believe that is a very rich topic, and the more we get it to the lower level and start mentoring, sharing our experiences with these kids will be very, very valuable and helpful to the future generation. So I would like to thank you guys. Thank you all for giving us opportunity to share maybe what you think could be helpful. I hope it is. So I would like to bless you guys.
Kamano Ongalo, thank you so much for joining us. One of the reasons why I actually invited you is because I know how passionate and interested you will be in this, because there are so many things we can do, and actually this is just a starting uh, point, because we have to start from somewhere. But the whole point is that at some point we will definitely, and would really love to reach as many people as possible, including even having special programs in schools, or having special programs in like in the very streets and rural areas of our villages, so that as many people as possible can have access to this. But this is meant for them, whether they want to replay the tapes or they want to have as meeting, maybe sometimes online or sometimes even physical or in person, with something we are really keen on. So just like you said, we need to reach to these people, and that's exactly what we intend to. That's why we even kind of try to do such things to start. We were still having it in mind, but then the idea was, let's do it now, because we thought they are at home. But yes, we are going to do that, and probably with your support and support everybody else, that's something we really look forward to. Really look forward to. But kama napanwa bro way more about how exactly we can do some of these things, actionable steps now, because we need to take actions. Koro, that's really important. But thank you so much for joining and for the support, for the contribution, for your time, for everything. That's greatly appreciated. Kabisa. Uh, Oluwande Grace, iwacho nade closing remarks ang'eyo ni biro, but aneno kibiro to you already got in. Koro, probably you have something to say as we close this.
Okay, thank you again, once again, Vincent. I think this topic is really broad. Actually, it's broad, and I can assure you, I don't have much to give because I don't have like 10 years of experience in terms of work. I don't have, let's say, 15 years of experience. But I think most of the things that we have said is very important, and especially when networking and actually when building your career. But most importantly, as I close, I would want to emphasize that when you are working upon your career and you have to like define your audience. Who do you want to work for? If you want to work locally, do everything possible and the relevant courses that you need, including certifications to work locally. If you want to work internationally, also do the right thing that can allow you work internationally. Like for me, I love working internationally, and that is the route um, I, I always love going to. Again, now, when you've decided to work internationally, you also have to ensure that you are conversant with the digital skills. Digital skills includes how you write your CV, because now when you're working internationally, they use AI actually in removing those CVs that they don't need. So you will find that you have a very good CV, yes. But now when you submit it, the system just rejects it. So you really have to define how you're going to do your CV in a way that it can be even accepted in the systems, in the digital systems. That is number one. Number two, you also have to document your work, ensure that you're in the working digital platforms, and also ensure that you have a work portfolio. So many employers from probably outside Kenya, that is what they look at. So building these things, you have to also ensure that you are conversant with creating videos, because those interviews involves even making short videos, introduction videos. You can be told like introduce yourself within 1 or 3 minutes. So you really have to be somebody who can speak on camera, and you really have to maybe be fluent in whatever you are doing. There are some jobs that will also test your English skills. So you really have to know how to go about it. So generally, you have to do something about the niche. Is it niche, Amali? It is niche that you've chosen. You really have to work hard if the target audience is a particular group. That is strategy number one. So as I finish on mentorship and execution, as in now, when you've done all these things, even if you've not maybe found that job immediately, do something. Do something to bring yourself to that level where somebody will notice you with what you do. And that can also be done maybe through those networkings that you are saying. But I think the most important thing that you should know in the first place is what you want to do. Does it make you happy? There is nothing as interesting as doing what you love doing. Because even if you'll be earning less in the beginning, you'll be so determined, be so motivated to work hard to ensure that the career path you've chosen, you're going to thrive in it. And you can only do that if you love your job. If you don't love your job, it becomes difficult for you even to concentrate in doing whatever you are doing at that particular moment. So, job love. Is it something that is exciting you? Is it something that is making you want to wake up every morning to go and do it? So that is a question again you really have to ask yourself. Thank you so much for giving me the platform probably to share one or two, three things. Thank you.
Eh, Trust me, Oluwande, uh, actually, like you mentioned, that this is broad. Actually, it is broad. And what you've tried to answer in the last, in your final remark or submission, is actually some of the questions I wanted us to talk about. Because one of the questions I had was, what are some of the practical steps, step-by-step guide on how exactly you can execute something that can make you see a progress in like 60 or 90 days? But we didn't get the time, and it's good that even despite not getting time, you've Juogaparoni is basically anytime somebody talks, they talk about what I thought we should talk about. Koro, which is very good, and I appreciate that. And most importantly, despite joining maybe at some data stage of the talk, you've made very strong submissions, and that's also acknowledged. Ber kabisa. Koro aparo ni wado mnalore. Nanino Karagot, Neni Karagot, I really appreciate your contributions. Kenny Lwar for some reasons, but wa winji kendo ni wacho weche ma tekre gi ng'eny kendo wan gi gini week a week. We try to make it week a week. I might do a survey so that people can tell us when they are available, because I know there's so many of us who are really wanting to make contributions, because mine talking to generation. Gimolode no wacho ma na gombo clarify ni this thing is not meant for people who are super experienced. Like you don't need to have any years of experience to make contribution, because this is meant to be an intergenerational conversation, meaning that that even want people who are in high school, if they can come and tell us what they think. We have people who are working who can come and tell us what they think. We have people who are in academia, they can come tell us what it is. People who are in industries, people who are in all fields. We want to is inter generational, and it also kind of uh, relating to so many fields, and we try to uh, make sure that we get as many people on board as possible. So there's nobody who is more qualified than the other one, as much as there might be differences in interests and passions and drives, but we all have, and we all of us matter when it comes to such conversations. Koro kik feel ni okin qualified to make such very good submissions. That's exactly what we are looking for, and anybody else is encouraged to make their contribution and say what they think. That is it. And Katieko, any anaka opportunity ni mar really go nwero kamano maduong' for showing up, for your contributions, kendo piny mor kabisa. Waromuru next week. Aparo ni maybe I might do the survey so that we have people, we know people, and we have the questions maybe in advance, and probably we prepare more. I know questions are interesting, but we want to make maximum impact. Yeah, because remember we are talking to generations, and this probably ntie recordings. Koro wabro continue to improve. Can't hear feedback that you feel like you want us to do, anything that you want us to cut kakongalo or suggest. Going to schools, that is really good. Luanda King, something that you think you want to do, you can reach out. Anybody else, including you can take questions maybe on what discuss or points. Tell me what that survey or questionnaire, so that we just get an overview or an idea, so that we can even have more organized talks. But this is already a master class kind of conversation. And again, I'm grateful and humbled. Lago to do go to kokao mic, but yeah, anaparo na go niro kamano kenda lore. Aken ng'ato nigi wach, but an happy kabisa. Olwanda ni dwa chiwo suggestion. Aneno ka ian mute.
So I just wanted to give vote of thanks. And again, okay, kaka nanyisi mokwongo, no, for me, I only have probably 5 years of working experience. But if maybe somebody would be interested in working internationally, globally, thank you.
Yeah, in fact, one of the things about that better with those mentorship who cohorts, we can have people talking to Ngalo, we can have people talking to Mondiolo here, we can have people talking to Pombekali, Wada Lego, Renish can have some people, Mwalimu can also have some people, everybody can have some people. That is if people are willing to. And even me, you can also have me, or I can have you. But yeah, thank you for that. Koro joma ni dwaro international jobs or works, and dwaro ng'eyo more about it, reach out to Oluwande. Yeah, that's noted. E aparo ni koro we wayaw space moro cha ma koro waloro wanere uru ka ruoth oyie. Erokamano mang'eny kabisa. Erokamano mang'eny kabisa for joining and supporting both teenagers madhi winjo this kind of conversation and anybody else who is going to benefit from this conversation. Erokamano mang'eny kabisa. I appreciate mano mang'eny.